The first time I realized a city could disappear without anyone noticing, I was standing on top of a lighthouse that no longer had an ocean. That sounds impossible, and maybe it should. But if you've ever watched a place slowly lose pieces of itself, a closed bakery, an empty playground, a forgotten street, you'll understand how easy it is for people to stop asking questions. My name is Elias, and for 12 years I worked as an official map painter. Not a cartographer with satellites or computers. My job was older than that. Every month I climbed the tallest lighthouse in the country and hand-painted the nation's master map onto a massive circular floor, hidden beneath the lantern room. Every village, river, bridge, forest, and coastline had its place. Whenever roads changed or rivers shifted, I updated the painting. Everyone believed the map reflected reality. Nobody told me reality reflected the map. It began with a tiny mistake. One exhausting evening, after 16 straight hours of work, I accidentally left out a small fishing village. It wasn't intentional. The brush slipped, another painter interrupted me, and I promised myself I'd add it the next morning. When I returned, I couldn't remember the village's name. The official records didn't list it. The coastline where it should have been was smooth and empty. Thinking I was simply tired, I asked another painter whether he'd ever visited the place. He stared at me with genuine confusion and said, "Visited where?" I laughed it off. 3 days later, while delivering supplies, I traveled to the coast where the village should have stood. There was nothing there. No docks. No houses. No roads leading anywhere. Only untouched cliffs and grass bending in the wind as though no one had ever lived there. The locals insisted the coastline had always looked exactly like that. That's when I climbed back to the lighthouse after midnight. The painted map was glowing. Not brightly. Just enough for every line of ink to shimmer like moonlight trapped beneath glass. I knelt beside the coastline I'd accidentally changed. The paint was still wet. I hadn't touched it in days. My hands trembled as I picked up a brush. Very carefully, from memory, I painted a single wooden pier extending into the sea. The glow spread outward like ripples in water. The lighthouse shook. Far below, bells rang from the harbor. The next morning, fishermen were unloading fresh catches from a dock everyone claimed had existed for generations. I nearly collapsed. That afternoon I found an old photograph hanging in a cafe. There, in faded colors, stood the pier I'd painted only hours earlier. From that day on, I understood the terrible responsibility hidden beneath the lighthouse. The map wasn't recording the nation. It was quietly rewriting it. I searched every archive I could find, eventually discovering a locked chamber beneath the lighthouse filled with centuries of discarded maps. Every generation of painters had left behind versions of the country that no longer existed. One map showed mountains where today there were rolling fields. Another showed 3 moons carefully painted into the sky. One impossibly old map depicted enormous forests stretching across the continent. Forests nobody remembered because, apparently, they had been painted away. Tucked beneath them all was a note written in fading ink. Never improve the world. Only preserve it. Whoever wrote those words knew exactly what temptation awaited every painter. First I obeyed. Then came the drought. Entire farming communities begged the government for help as rivers dried into cracked trenches. Children carried empty buckets for miles every morning. I stared at the blank blue paint beside one river. Surely one small correction couldn't hurt. That night I widened the river by barely the width of my little finger. Rain fell before dawn. Within a week the river overflowed with fresh water. Harvests recovered. The newspapers called it a miracle. People celebrated. So I painted another river. Then healthier forests. Then safer roads through dangerous mountain passes. Bridges where ferries kept sinking. The nation prospered faster than anyone could explain. I convinced myself I was helping. Until people began disappearing. Not dying. Disappearing. A baker whose shop no longer fit on a redesigned street. A family whose farmhouse had been replaced by one of my new forests. An entire orchestra vanished after I repainted a city square to create more public gardens. Nobody mourned them because nobody remembered they had ever existed. Only I did. Each improvement demanded invisible sacrifices. Reality wasn't expanding. It was making room. Desperate for answers, I returned to the underground chamber. This time I found someone waiting. An elderly woman sat calmly beside the oldest map, mixing blue paint. She introduced herself simply as Mira. "I painted before your grandfather was born," she said. I demanded to know why she hadn't warned me. She smiled sadly. "I did." She handed me the faded note. The handwriting matched hers. "You can't create anything," she explained. "The map balances itself. Every new road replaces another path. Every forest replaces forgotten homes. Every miracle has a price hidden where nobody looks." I asked why nobody remembered. "Because memory follows the newest map." Then she revealed something even stranger. The lighthouse had never protected the country, protected the painter. As long as one person remembered every version of reality, the world remained stable. If the painter ever forgot what had been erased, the map would begin correcting itself without guidance. Chaos would follow. I wanted to stop painting immediately. Mira shook her head. "You can't." She pointed toward the lantern room. Fresh cracks spread across the painted floor. The map was fading. Not because of age. Because I had begun doubting it. Reality itself was becoming uncertain. Cities flickered between different layouts. Roads ended halfway through fields. People woke in houses with doors opening onto empty cliffs. The nation was quietly unraveling. There was only one solution. Complete a final map. One that asked for no improvements, no ambitions, no perfection, just acceptance. For 3 sleepless days I painted every river exactly as it flowed. Every scar across the land. Every damaged bridge. Every burned forest. Every abandoned factory. Every imperfect coastline. I painted the country honestly instead of beautifully. When I finished, the cracks vanished. The glow faded forever. The lighthouse lantern extinguished itself. The magic was gone. The map became nothing more than paint. Officials converted the lighthouse into a museum. Visitors admire the enormous painted floor every day, believing it's merely an old work of art. Sometimes children ask why the rivers aren't straighter or why the roads take awkward turns. Their parents laugh and say old map makers weren't very accurate. I always smile, because accuracy was never the point. The world survived because someone finally stopped trying to make it perfect. And every now and then, I visit the western cliffs where I once erased an entire fishing village by accident. The wind still carries the faint scent of salt. There are no houses, no docks, no footprints. Yet whenever the evening sun hits the sea just right, I could swear I hear distant laughter drifting across the waves from people only one person alive still remembers. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.